welcome Timur to this interview. It's a real pleasure having you here. Timur Shegai is a professor of physics at Chalmers University in Sweden. He is a leading expert in nanophotonics and various other topics, and we will hear about what he has to say today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so let me begin with basically it would be interesting for us to hear from you how you became interested in science in general, how early in your life, and in particular physics, and then at what point you developed the taste for photonics and quantum physics.
Essentially, my grandfather, he was a professor in physics, and my grandmother, she was a chemist, and my father was professor in physics too. But until some age, they didn't put any pressure on me in terms of, choosing future profession, or like they didn't work hard in terms of stimulating my interest for physics, I would say. It rather came from, I would say, school teacher. So for me, I would really say it's really important to have a good school teacher. That's where it all starts. If you have such a good person in your life who triggers interest, then, and if the environment supports that, and in my case it did very much, then you can fully, get interested and motivated, and all this kind of stuff.
And then I imagine the conversations of physics homeworks and exams. Did your family give you feedback or advice? Or?
Actually not. I mean, we started speaking professionally physics with my dad probably when I was already on a PhD level or something there. Before that, he was not much interested, I would say, because it was probably like not enough level or something for him. Yeah,
supportive anyway.
Of course, supportive. Yeah, they were obviously not against, me doing physics, but they also didn't want to exert like any pressure or anything like that.
They let evolve.
It was free choice. So
that's the best, no?
Yeah, absolutely. So then my teachers in math and in physics and in chemistry, they were great, both in high school level and in university level. I had really good friends in these specialized classes and schools where I've been going to, who also stimulated a lot of extra discussions. And this is how I got interested in going to university and actually, getting deeper into all these subjects.
And why optics, nanophotonics, experimental physics, quantum physics? Why?
Well, this also took a lot of time. So in my university time, actually, I started with biochemistry first. I was doing maybe for 1 year or so biochemistry. I have 0 publications about that, but got experience, lab experience, that essentially it was complicated for me. And I thought that I want to do something more physics. And then I switched to nuclear magnetic resonance, actually. So I worked in nuclear magnetic resonance for a couple of years. This was,
as an undergrad.
Closer as an undergrad, closer to my, it was more interesting for me, let's say, in the end. But then at the PhD level, I kind of was exposed to this field of single molecules and also of Raman spectroscopy. And at first I thought that, doing single molecules and Raman at the same time is sort of impossible. But that was what my PhD topic was in the end. So I experimentally looked for single molecule Raman spectroscopy. And that, of course, probably everybody knows now that it uses surface plasmon resonance. So this, dimer structures with a gap of 1 nanometer, silver nanoparticles, this kind of stuff, and rhodamine 6G as a dimolecule. So then I got fully exposed into that, and that is sort of very interdisciplinary topic. It has spectroscopy, Raman spectroscopy, it has plasmonics, nanophotonics, these concepts of nanoantennas. and
the physical chemistry of it.
Physical chemistry, sample preparation, doing the experiments right, all that. And of course, I'm grateful to my PhD advisor, and all the colleagues who were there. They were also extremely supportive. So it was great times. And then that led me to a postdoc where I sort of continued on antennas and Raman and all this, but a bit broader, then became a bit broader. And later on, I also should say that, before your scientific interest, at least in my case, before it really shapes, you need to get some experience. And it took for me, all PhD time, all postdoc time, and perhaps even some time as assistant professor. So I was not entirely sure what exactly I wanted to do. So yeah, it was a bit,
it's an exploration.
A bit pivoting here and there, but I'm happy in the end. Yeah. So yeah.
How would you describe what you are currently working on, your research direction?
Yeah. So in my group we do basically three main topics. All of these three topics have something to do with nanoscale light-matter interactions. So broadly speaking, the first class of problems we deal with is polariton related. So polariton is a hybrid object, like a mixture between light and matter. And we do actually three different types of these polaritons. Plasma accident polaritons, that's where connection to Raman and connection to single molecules comes from. So this is more like my background, so to say. But then we are also interested in this so-called self-hybridized, the Hopfield polaritons as well, which I mentioned here during the talk. And finally, recently we also became interested in phonon polaritons. It's an interesting combination of like light and matter. Again, I also for a while, this concept was kind of new to me and not fully, like both surprising and interesting. Yeah, I'm fascinated by topics like this, and especially when I don't understand that, I dive further, try to understand it, try to maybe contribute with something. So this was, let's say, a good topic, but it also had a good connection to my background. So I would say it was not like a completely different, let's say. I didn't switch to something like dark matter, or cosmology or something like that. It was still related to nano and light and matter. But I actually, so we have two other topics in the group. So polaritons is like one cluster, but then we also work a lot with this layered van der Waals materials, to be specific, transitional metal dechalcogenides. So they have very fascinating optical properties too. They have very high refractive indices, they have anisotropy, they also have very high nonlinearity, specifically K2 nonlinearity if we're talking about like specially stacked objects. So we're now doing stuff like nanoresonators there, Mi resonators, but also metasurfaces, looking for kind of limits of nonlinear spectroscopy or nonlinear nanophotonics.
So you're interested in shaping the light and shaping maybe materials to produce new sources of light maybe that are potentially new, interesting. And would you describe what you're doing?
Exactly, yeah. So we work specifically now with second harmonic generation, but looking forward to other nonlinear processes. So that could include, OPO in future, maybe spontaneous parametric down conversion, things like this. And so far I'm quite interested in this. The material platform seems to be new and inspiring in many senses, but we'll see where it leads us. So this is, second class of problems that we deal with in my group. And then the third class of problems is related to the self-assembled microcavities. As a balance of electrostatic and Casimir-Lifshitz forces, we form this very nice structures which are resonant, in visible range. They produce different, nicely looking, actually visually appealing colors as in reflection and transmission. And this is all self-assembled at room temperature in aqueous solution. So I'm pretty fascinated.
What's fascinating is that area is kind of a mix of known phenomenon like the electric screening or what the salt and polarity and electrostatics is, which is something quite well understood, mixed with fundamental quantum electrodynamics aspects, the Casimir forces and so on. That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
And then, but you didn't get there maybe as in a planned manner. So when you started, you probably had to pick the right research topic. So how do you do that? How did you do that? And in general, how would you advise someone who's starting? I mean, your young self or somebody else to pick the right research topic. And is there such a thing, or like the right research topic in the first place?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, because we don't have infinite resources, we don't have infinite time, and after all, this is quite competitive environment. So I think it's important to choose the topic right. In my case, I think it was important that I tried to get a broad background. So in nanophotonics and like plasmonics, light matter interactions, Raman. My first steps towards an independent career, they were not like extreme pivots from that. It was maybe like a branch of this, but still more or less in a similar direction. However, it was distinct enough, which gave me an opportunity to become, someone. Yeah, and then I would say, initially, I was very interested to do something relatively new, let's say. So I was trying to, come up with a list of ideas of what I want to do, and then select them according to novelty. Something that I think this would be, first of all, novel, and second of all, feasible for me to do. And then this is how I did it usually.
So novel and feasible sometimes are two words are not necessarily compatible. So that probably requires a lot of creativity. So what do you think the role of creativity today in your career is?
It's quite important. Yeah, I would say so. But it's also a matter of trying, a matter of luck sometimes, a matter of looking at things with an open eye or open eyes in general. And also a matter of trying, really. Really, like it's like if you don't try, you never get anywhere. So I think it's important to give some level of freedom to yourself, to actually try things, and you may fail many times. Actually, it's also important. I try to teach my students and also try to adopt this myself, that failure is okay. Failure is not really that everything is failed. Like worst case scenario, you learn something. So I would say, especially initially in my group, there were very many projects which led, so to say, nowhere in terms of scientific publications, but we did learn something. And I'm grateful also to my early PhD students and postdocs who were brave enough to do this kind of stuff. Now I think I became more
conservative.
Kind of more conservative. Sometimes I'm thinking, how could I do this kind of stuff that I did like 10 years ago? Like, as a more mature person, I perhaps would not have courage to
Is that what your students and postdoc will push you to your limits of creativity, or?
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. But
hopefully.
It could be. Hopefully. At least whenever they come up with interesting ideas, novel concepts, and like something that, can I try this or that, I usually try to support. Except that, of course I give feedback, and like, of course, being a bit skeptical, I, tell that this is not going to work. Healthy skepticism is totally fine. But then, like in general, so as I said, I think I have mostly like 3 criteria and 3 maybe visions for myself, how I see my mission in general. So first of all, trying to do something new, that was one. Second is actually, perhaps even more important, is to train new generation of scientists. Hopefully with a balance of creativity, risk, but also feasibility we can help new generation of scientists to, to grow, to get their careers right, and maybe then at some point come with revolutionary ideas which are going to change the world.
Is that approach to advising students and postdoc something that you always had? This is something that you plan to do when becoming advisor, or you have developed this?
I think I tried to do it early on with like all my students and all my postdocs. Sometimes it was more successful, sometimes it was less successful. Sometimes it also depends on the match between supervisor and students or postdocs. But I would say also with age, this aspect became more important for me somehow. In the beginning, I was more thinking in terms of papers, Now I think much more in terms of, supporting young people and forming a new generation. Yeah, and maybe the third thing which drives me also is the applications. So I'm interested at some point to come up not with just something new, but with something useful as well.
And new and useful even better, no?
New and useful even better, but again, you see things are very kind of, so the overlaps are very often pretty narrow, so it needs to be a lot of trials and sometimes luck again. So, but we'll see where we get. I mean, at least I do try to get something useful, and we'll see. Perhaps it works out.
It's an ongoing story.
Yeah, it is an ongoing story. Yeah.
So maybe as a final question regarding the topic of the conference this week, molecular quantum technologies. Where do you see molecular quantum technologies going into the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, I really enjoy the conference so far, and I have to say it's very broad. Like I got introduced to many concepts that I did not think before or was not very familiar with. So actually, I would like to thank you and also, this community. This molecular quantum technologies seems to be way broader than I thought before. So I from polaritonic side, I was mostly expecting something, polariton related, but here it was much broader, I would say. So there were coherent control, quantum control.
But still connected conceptually.
Of course, still connected, but it's a lot of spectroscopy, it's a lot of, light matter interactions, but it's also a lot of, other degrees of freedom which we sometimes don't think about. So I think, this is all great. Yeah, where it goes exactly, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm very motivated and positively surprised to see such a rapid progress in various branches of this molecular quantum technology. So I think it's hard to predict exactly, where it will shoot up. I think it's very often in science so that, it's hard to kind of plan for gigantic breakthroughs. Sometimes they happen. Sometimes they happen, and it's hard to predict where exactly and how exactly they're going to happen. If we knew how to predict that, we would probably do this long time ago, right? But it doesn't seem to work this way. At least, I don't know, I'm maybe going to change my mind, in future. But right now, I'm fascinated how different, branches of this field are developing with which speed and what kind of successful realizations people show, not only theoretically but also experimentally. So there is definitely a hope that something gonna happen. Yeah.
That's very exciting to hear coming from you. Well, with this, I would like to thank you again for this interview. It's been fantastic, and and that's it. Basically, we're done.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.